as of today, Canada has officially become a complete dictator country. Justin Trudeau has officially implemented online censorship to a level that Canada has never seen before, and it's creating a lot of panic. A lot of people are very, very worried as to how this is going to affect their online, usage through either YouTube, Netflix, or whatever it is. So we're going to take a look at everything. This is really scary, folks. Like total dictator move. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It really helps grow the channel, as well as remind you that if you want one of these stickers, I did not see that coming. They are selling out very, very fast. So link for that is down in the description. As well as I want to thank today's sponsor. I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We've teamed up together, and PIA is willing to offer my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE. Now, here in Canada, with Justin Trudeau in power, not only is he kind of like a communist dictator, but he's also censoring the internet, which is why you need a VPN to encrypt yourself and be able to bounce around different geolocations to really mask your not only digital footprint, but to mask your identity, because right now it's hard enough as it is to even get the news. That's right. Bill C-18 prevents users, everyday people such as yourself, myself, from accessing simple information that is our freedom of rights to information here in Canada. If you go on Facebook, you currently can't even see Canadian news. It's wild, and who knows what's next. Maybe he's going to ban everything with Google, maybe here on YouTube. So you need to cover yourself and protect yourself with a VPN such as Private Internet Access. And what better way to do that here in Canada than having 83% off? The link for that is down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. Use code SUNSHINE with Private Internet Access for 83% off. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. The CRTC, which is Canada's online regulation body, they've just recently, like last night, came out with this tweet. It's very frightening. It says, "Today we are taking a major step forward to modernize Canada's broadcasting system. Following broad consultations, we are releasing our first two decisions, including which online streaming service to register with us." And this tweet almost has 1 million views. And I mean, when you go through the comments, it's exactly what you would expect. People are saying commies. I got tagged in it. That's how I got my attention. Shout out to Christy G. Shout out to everybody who follows me on Twitter for giving me those types of, heads up, I guess. And then someone says this: "I'm not a fan of the CRTC, but if you follow the link, it's like a 3-minute read. And it's clear from most of the replies that people aren't reading it. My God, people, at least know what you're angry about." So the way that the CRTC bill is structured is it's very broad. It's not very defined, which means that it's leaving a lot of room for clawbacks down the road, and they can move the goalposts, which is what everyone is fearing about this. And if you don't trust me, go look at other creators that have talked about this topic. Every single person is having a lot of fear with this, because this is not something to be happy about. This is very concerning that Canada wants to regulate online. We're already fighting online, like YouTube algorithms and TikTok algorithms, and that, like, their own censorship. The government wants to come in and manipulate things so that they have full control, which probably means less political push, which means political content will be heavily swayed in the opposite direction to favor more Justin Trudeau. Because if you look at online right now, the reason this channel is so popular is nobody likes Justin Trudeau. Nobody. And that's why we're able to get the views and the reach that we have, is because nobody likes him. So imagine if it's flipped the other way. Imagine if we're getting 200 views a video instead of 100,000 or 200,000, and now pro-liberal content is coming out. And that's just one of the many, many possibilities of what the CRTC is able to do. Let's take a look at some very influential people here on Twitter, what they have to say. Wall Street Silver is a 1 million followed account, very huge account. Justin Castro Trudeau is now moving to regulate podcasts in Canada. How many steps away is Canada from banning opposition political parties? And that's pretty much a massive fear that people have. Source, without paywall. We're going to look at that in a second. Even Elon Musk is chiming in and saying, regulate podcasts? I mean, that almost has 200,000 views alone. And the Hodge twins, says his dad would be so proud. Obviously, Fidel Castro. It's just so scary. So let's take a look at the article without paywall. This is the counter signal. Justin Trudeau's government passed an online streaming act, and it's moving into the next phase. The government claims the regulation will ensure online streaming services make meaningful contributions to Canadian and Indigenous content. But critics worry the move is just the Liberal government's latest attempt to control what Canadians are able to see and hear. Brian Lilly from the Toronto Sun says the TRTC now wants to regulate podcasts. Here is my simple message to them: go to hell. CRTC's announcement states that podcasters meeting certain criteria need to provide information about their activities in Canada. Online streaming services operate in Canada that offer audio and video content that generate $10 million or more in annual revenues must complete a registration form by November 28, 2023. It's pitched as a one-time requirement collecting basic information. And second, the CRTC is setting conditions for online streaming services to operate in Canada. These conditions take effect today and require certain online streaming services to provide the CRTC with information related to their content and subscribership. It is creeping totalitarianism. And the scariest part is we've seen Canada really claw back, and they put one thing in place and then they move the goalposts in their favor, and it doesn't stop. We saw that with mandates. We saw that with the ability to protest and how they've gone back and they've changed what you're allowed to protest and how you're allowed to protest because the Freedom Convoy got so out of control and they weren't able to contain it, right? So it's going to be the exact same thing with online streaming services. We're all going to have to register. Like, it's just so scary. Let's take a look at the Senate and what they have to say about this.
Motion is adopted.
And with that vote, the much debated Bill C-11 passed in the Senate. For the Heritage Minister, it's a big win.
The bill is very simple. It's simply asking the streamers, the Disney and Netflix that we all love to contribute to Canadian culture.
We were known in Canada for our comedy, and I think we'll see more of that.
Liz Shorten says the new regulations for streaming platforms will mean more opportunities for Canadian productions.
We're very pleased that the government has taken this bold move. We know that other countries around the world are watching, and this will be a historic day.
For years, streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime have operated in Canada outside of the regulations traditional Canadian broadcasters must follow, including Canadian content rules and funding Canadian productions. How that's going to change will now be up to the CRTC, but many critics, including Conservatives, think the law is unnecessary.
Why wouldn't we want to compete with the world? Canada can, Canadians can. Just have faith in Canadians.
Hear, hear.
Others worry the rules won't be clear enough.
So the biggest concern right now is the actual ambiguity around the legislation and the doors that are open and the doors that are not closed.
These are 5 things that make perfect sense in Canada.
Much of the controversy around the bill is about whether it would apply to user-generated content, like the videos uploaded to popular sites like TikTok. The government says no.
This has nothing to do with the user-generated content. It's only about the streamers contributing to our culture.
The government will give directives to the CRTC about its vision for the bill. That will be followed by a consultation process where stakeholders can weigh in before any of the details are decided.
If we look at the facts, we can see that Justin Trudeau and Liberals are behind in the polls, and they're 100% or 98% likely to lose. And so implementing this type of act gives them power to change algorithms and to change the course of how we use social media. So if you're thinking for even a second that it's unlikely that the Liberal government, who is positioned to lose the next election, isn't going to use this to their advantage to reshape political content, you are out of your mind, and I want whatever you're smoking for my weekends, because that's absolutely absurd and insane. Everybody is worried about this. Let's take a look at a very detailed breakdown of what Ezra Levant from Rebel News had to say. This is a very long thread. If you want to follow it on your own time, you're more than welcome to go get it yourself on Twitter or X, from Ezra. Governments hide things by announcing them on Friday afternoons. Last Friday, Trudeau announced he now requires YouTubers, live streamers, and podcasters, including those streaming on X or Twitter, to register with the government. It's part of his internet censorship strategy. This shocking decision was not debated, let alone voted on by Parliament. It's a decree like Castro would do. Justin used his hand-picking appointees at the CRTC, the Canadian Radio and Television and Telecommunications Commission, to announce this hijacking. The CRTC is a relic of the age of radio and TV, created in 1976. It's been for more than a decade, other than handing out lucrative monopolies to Canada's cell phone cartel. Canadians literally pay the highest phone rates in the world. The CRTC is intensely political. It killed off the Sun News network, dubbed Fox News North, in 2005. The Sun News wanted the same regulatory treatment as the two left-wing all-news channels, and the CRTC denied it. And then Ezra talks about how Ezra used to work there, and he rebuilt from the ashes, and what is now Rebel News. It's very scary, folks, that Canada now has the ability to manipulate online in its entire entity to what they deem. If you go on Netflix or Disney or Hulu or Crave, you want to see what the social media or what the streaming service algorithm is recommending to you, because they know what they're doing. That's their job. It's not the Canadian government's job to look at algorithms for social media or streaming services and determine what you want, because they've already said what their bias is. Canada wants to push Canadian content. So you're going to see the Bob and Doug McKenzie brothers, right? Like, you're just going to see Canadian content on the front page of everything. So you're going to have to scroll past that, because likely you don't just want to watch Canadian content. You want to watch movies or shows from other places without knowing where the hell they're made. You just want to watch it because you want to watch it. And the issue that Canada just, I don't know why they have these blinders on, is just make better content. Stop forcing people to watch what you want them to watch, because then they're going to hate you and whatever you're displaying way more than they already do. It's like, I don't know, forcing an entire country to follow certain procedures when they don't want to against their will. It's just not a good look for Canada. It's not a good look for the CRTC. And this is going to have massive, massive repercussions. I got one more video about this. Let's take a look here.
To just mention that it's passed, the bill has passed, it's received royal assent, so it is now law in this land. What do you make of that?
So it's law in this land. It hasn't come into regulatory effect. There will be a couple years of the CRTC figuring out how to actually act on this new bill that we've gotten.
What do you think of it?
We think it's basically the same bill that it was 2 years ago. There's still some major flaws. And from our perspective, the two big concerns are that it does give the CRTC considerable power to regulate user videos and podcasts and TikToks as if they're TV and radio as broadcasting. And it gives the CRTC a very broad power to force feed that or content that they think is officially Canadian into the feeds and search results of Canadians.
So tell me a little bit more about what that means, because what you're concerned about, you're concerned about individual Canadian content creators, right? Like just kind of the small guys and gals.
We're concerned about small creators, and we're concerned about the experience that everyone could have. So I think many people like their feeds on services. They don't want them to change massively. And small creators in Canada, a lot of them are worried that if this bill is applied to them in the wrong way, they could actually lose some of their global audience without gaining really significant benefits here in Canada.
Is there anything in this bill that you think is worthy, that you think is important?
Well, there's nothing wrong with finding some more support for Canadian storytelling. Mm-hmm. And I think there's validity in getting some online platforms to pay into the system. We just want to make sure that system is fair that it's equally available to everyone in Canada. And really, it would have been better if they'd reformed the Canadian content system before they'd done this. We don't really know what qualifies as officially Canadian under this new system. Those standards haven't been updated since the 80s, and they don't currently apply to the internet at all. So there's a lot of unknowns in how this is going to work as it moves forward.
So why do you think this legislation became a priority for the government to get through?
It's a great question. I think they've heard from some creators from the traditional broadcast system who were very concerned about being shut out of sort of these new systems on the internet. I think a lot of folk in Quebec are very worried about being able to receive all the content they want in French. But there is an opportunity, I think, to close a few of the loopholes and get really what the government says they're looking for. The minister is going to be issuing a policy direction on the bill soon. And that's an opportunity to make very clear that user content is out and that they shouldn't go too far in manipulating our feeds and choices.
So would that have to be an amendment? Is that a policy direction that the CRTC would just have to follow to kind of leave some of the small creators alone?
Yeah, it's a policy direction. So from our perspective, from a rights perspective, it's not as good as improving the law. But it's an opportunity to at least say, in practice, you shouldn't be going too far with this. Don't include creators who don't want to be in. Don't meddle with people's choices in a way that they would not like in their online experience.
So then why not do that now? Why not have everything that you're saying in this bill, which is now law?
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, their opposition will say it's because they actually do want to use this bill to censor Canadians. I think that remains to be determined. But if they don't want people to think that, they can clean it up in the policy direction. They always said that it was about not leaving loopholes, but they rejected just about every amendment that would have protected user content, unfortunately.
And that is the million-dollar question. So if it really is about improving Canadian experience online through streaming services, then there should be options that say, if you want to watch Canadian content, click this tab on YouTube, on Netflix, on Hulu, on Crave, on Disney, whatever it is. Well, actually, none of us should really have Disney because our finance minister has told us that we can combat inflation by canceling Disney Plus. So if you have Disney, that's why you're broke, according to Chrystia Freeland. This is outrageous. It's going to have massive repercussions. It's create a really, really big uproar. And I'm very excited for Question Period to come back Monday or Tuesday and for them to debate this, because this just came into effect, like it got implemented and they're starting the phases immediately. So very scary stuff, folks, which is why you should subscribe and turn those post notifications on, especially if you're not Canadian. That way it adds a layer of insurance to make sure you get past the YouTube algorithm, you get past Fidel Castro's algorithm and CRTC's crazy stuff. I don't know at this point, but yeah, this was very scary times indeed. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to click the link down in the description to get your I did not see that coming sticker, as well as thank you Private Internet Access for sponsoring today's video. I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.